Good morning, everybody. My name is Chad Espinoza, and I am in Education 506 with Dr. Wellman. And this Pecha Kucha is called Acing the Assessment. During my time as an undergraduate, the worst I ever did on a test was on the Canterbury Tales. As you may already know, the Canterbury Tales were written by Geoffrey Chaucer. The Canterbury Tales is a collection of stories by a collection of pilgrims who are on a seemingly unending journey to the Canterbury Cathedral during the Hundred-Year War. Since these wary pilgrims were without mobile devices, to pass the time, they had a contest to see who could tell the greatest story. With everything on the line, the pilgrims all set out to hit home runs. This is why many of the stories are simply bizarre. There is the friar's story, where an unrepentant summoner's body, soul, and frying pan, as you can see right here with the angry egg, are dragged to hell by a demon. This story is probably my favorite. I think it's the most bizarre, and it also tells you don't do anything bad, or your frying pan will pay for it. And then there's a story about a knight who is commissioned by a queen to find out what women truly want. Right here, this is my best guess. If you have any better suggestions, let me know. Some of the stories are not that bizarre, like A Knight's Tale. This story is about two knights dueling for the hand of a beautiful maiden. This story is so classic and so good that it actually took 600 years to find the perfect class lead. Now, you're probably wondering, Chad, you know so much about the Canterbury Tales. How could someone as knowledgeable as you possibly underperform on the Canterbury Tales test? Well, the answer is quite simple. Instead of assessing my knowledge of the various themes of religion, gender roles, and hegemonic structures of Western civilization, the test was designed to measure my knowledge of mundane details, like what month did the story take place in. I got a C in the test, however, I got an A on the paper. The paper assessed my engagement and general grappling with the themes of the text, not my accumulation of inconsequential details. So when it came to creating a lesson, I decided to start my assessment. The final assessment I chose was an essay where students must answer the question, who is really disabled in the story? Now, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, so let's take a couple of steps back. My lesson's primary text is a short fiction master, Raymond Carver's Cathedral. The story is about a narrator and his wife who host a blind man in their home. The narrator develops an interesting relationship with the blind man. At the end of the story, the narrator, at the suggestion of the blind man, tries to draw a cathedral with his eyes closed. He finds it absolutely thrilling. Because the final essay intends to assess my students' understanding of disabledness, the first day's activity is ripped right from the book. They will draw with their eyes closed, look at their pathetic scribbles, and reflect on the experience in small groups. They will reflect on what it is like living without an ability many take for granted. But the discussion will not end at having a disability is hard. The discussion will go way beyond that. The students will use the new media literacies of appropriation and simulation to further discuss the concept of disabledness. As you can see here, new media literacies come with their own geek survival kit. Now, the students will pretend to have a disability of their choosing and will reinterpret the drawing scene from the book. Through this assignment, the students will experience what it is like to have a disability, but they will think about the experience critically again. They will make known the disadvantages, but they will also consider the possible advantages. They will also discuss the idea of being emotionally disabled. For example, students will discuss whether or not extreme shyness or stubbornness is a disability. Like this little bird here. Is he too shy to get food? Is he too shy to ask for help? Or is he just too stubborn to do anything on his own? The students will consider all the possibilities. So, why is so much participation encouraged? Well, the answer is, look at this picture. The picture shows the uneven distribution of participation in a classroom. So this lesson is designed to get as many kids participating as possible. Through participation, the students will gain a deeper understanding of the text. They will better understand what the characters are going through. Also, they will gain a deeper understanding and empathy for those who are disabled. By developing these two things, the students will be well prepared for the final assessment, the essay asking who in the story is actually disabled. And they will all sit nicely because I asked them to. In conclusion, the greatest strength of this lesson is its focus on big ideas. Both the lesson and the final assessment ask for understanding of the story that goes deeper than details. Did you notice how I never mentioned the month the story takes place in? Did you also notice that my final assessment did not ask what cartoon character clock was hanging on the narrator kitchen's wall? The lesson avoids stressing minor, inconsequential details. It favors the big ideas of the stories, the ideas that have immediate consequences to the students' lives. It is not a stretch to assume that experiencing what it is like to be disabled will only increase one's understanding of disability. Now don't get me wrong, I love details that satisfy all the senses. Every good story is rich with them, because every good writer shows they never tell, but the details are never the end of the story. The story goes beyond great details. The story is a window into the human condition. Through them, the reader is better able to understand the world and his or herself. A class that teaches literature should inspire its students to do exactly that. I am more than sure that Shakespeare desired the audience of Hamlet to consider the big questions of fate and destiny, and not obsess over the color of Hamlet's shoes. Thank you for your time.